Hi there guys, welcome to Access 2010 where we're going to go and change the appearance of our table. You might note that we don't have a table anywhere on our left hand pane. In the last video we went to File and we went to New and selected a blank database template that Microsoft Access makes available to me. I'm going to go ahead to my Create tab. I'm going to click on Table and it'll also give me the opportunity to create a table that way. You might notice that it automatically labels it as table 1, and I can therefore go ahead, right click on this guy here and say save. It gives me the option to change it, and I'm going to call it test. So okay. Right, we said that we're going to be changing the appearance of a table, and the only way we could do that also is it'll make sense if we had some data in our table as well. In this case here, you might notice that our ID tab is available, and we could also click here to create new fields. So in this case, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to create a text field, alright, and I'm going to call it test 1. Okay, so now you know you can actually create a field in datasheet view, but we can also go and create a field in design view. So I'm going to change that up in design view, and automatically you'll see the field name ID and the one that I've just created, test 1. Remember, we went to view and to design view. Okay, so in this case here I want to go ahead and create another one called test 2, maybe even another one here called test 3, and you'll see as I create it, it automatically sets it to text. So the moment I click onto this cell called text, that is a data type, I have my field properties pop up down below, which is going to give me options to further stipulate exactly what I want as text. So in this case here, I've got a field size of 255 characters. I've got formats, input, mask, and so on. We'll talk about that in later videos. Alright, in this case here, I want to create this one to be numbers only, and the moment I changed it to numbers, my field properties changed as well. You'll see that when I click on text, it gives me different field properties, and when I click on the bottom here and just change this one to date and time, for instance, we can also go and change that. Right, so we have a couple of fields or extra fields, and you'll note the moment I change to data sheet view, it asks me to save the changes that I've made. So I say yes, and then I'll be able to see exactly what my table would look like. Now remember, in a database we have in our table fields and different records, and we'd like to go and enter specific data to make our table a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to just go ahead and change and put the number in there. Now remember, that one there was coded to number. Let's see if this one would accept it. That one would accept it. Oh, hang on. Remember what we did over here? We changed this to a date and time. Let's take that away quickly. Now in our properties, you might have noticed, let's look for test 3 in design view. Test 3 had a data type of date and time. So let's go back to datasheet. When I click over here, automatically I see this little button over here, and I can click on that and set a specific date and time. So for instance, the 19th, it puts it into a specific format for me, and that is perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. That's why I designed it in design view as such. Now in test 2, let's go have a look in design view what it was formatted to be. It was formatted to be a data type of text. So you can note that in datasheet view I have a number instead of text. Alright, and this one here was number, but here I've got it as text. So it accepted it. So that's a learning curve for us. So let's go put in any text over here, and it accepts it for us. That's wonderful. Okay, so you might notice that my ID has given me an ID of 1, and the moment I go click in here and I go put in a value, it gives me an ID of number 2. Alright, so now I have records being built up. I have fields, and this is what my table would consist of. Yet again, I only have letters here, and when I click here, I can select a different date. Alright, so let's continue and just put fictitious numbers, dates, and text inside there. And what we really want to do now is we want to change the appearance of our table. Remember, you have to make this readable in the sense if I had text that was hidden and my actual field size was too small as such, I won't be able to read everything in that actual cell. So when you make it readable, simply go take the mouse to the right hand side of the little drop down arrow until it gives you this sign over here. Left click and just simply drag it along until you can see everything in that cell. You can also go ahead and change the height of each one of these cells or rows by simply highlighting the entire row, right clicking, and you'll be able to say go select on row height. Over here you can change it to, let's say, 16. Let's make it a little bit more obvious. Let's go change it to 20, and you'll see it'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Right, so now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and change the actual text. Remember, in our home tab, we'll be able to go look at the text formatting area. Okay, this here is called a text formatting group. It's a group of buttons, and we can go ahead and change our fonts and background colors and so on. So if I now go ahead and I click on bold, note that everything changes to bold. I want it as italics or underlined. It'll underline everything for me. Okay, I'm going to deselect those quickly. Also, never mind whether you can actually select a specific portion. Look at what happens anyway. It'll all go to the color red as a font color, and also the background color I can change and I can make it yellow. Now it has actually selected the entire table, so it does not know that I want it only applied in this area over here. Alright, I'm going to just change that back. Right, and we also want to go ahead and play around with the grid lines. The grid lines will give us specific lining. So if I selected this guy here, in fact highlight this area, have my grid lines, you'll note that it gives me grid lines throughout. Specifically when it's highlighted, you can see the grid lines, the change of it. So change it to that, you can see it gives it as that button applies. Simply grid lines at vertical lines, you'll see them going vertical lines, and if there were none, it would take away the grid lines. Okay, so I would like to have my grid lines back, all of them. Also, I'll be able to go and select specific fields. I can center certain areas. Remember, I've selected all in this field, so it will only apply to this field over here. My ID, let's see if that will go to the left. Yes, it does, and therefore the wording will go to the center. Now remember, when you're working with text, you ideally want to have it aligned to the left. When you're working with numbers, you want to have it centered. Specifically in the ID tab, would also be ideal to have it centered so that you can actually see where they are and whether they are in single numbers also. And then in this row over here, where we only had the dates, we naturally have it aligned to the right. You can see it. You can align it center right. Okay, I'm going to keep it like that for now. Alright, so I think what we also need to realize is that we can actually go ahead and change row sizes of the fonts. In fact, it's actually changed all of them, and then yet again you can see here that I've got a couple of hashtags in a row. What I'd like to do here is make it readable again, isn't it? So we're going to go and broaden this guy over here, and it'll fix our issue for us. Okay, I'm going to just change that back to size 11, or even size 12. Okay, guys, I think that will be it for this video. We've now gone and changed the appearance of a table, and if you'd like to save this table, you could right click and say save, or you could simply go File and Save, or Save Object As, and you'll be able to rename the object. Remember, if you're saving the database as, it will save the entire Access database for you. If you had to eventually delete the table, the actual database will still be alive, but the table will be missing. Alright, so please make sure that you save this table within the database called test. Okay guys, thank you very much for listening.